Radio, where gamers roll.
www.d20radio.com.
Hello Gamer Nation and welcome to Season 2 of the Dice Pool Podcast live play series. I'm your host Ian Hurleyhan, better known as Jim Hurley. This is an actual play podcast using the GeneSys Role Playing Game by Fantasy Flight Games. This season our adventures have been set in the fantasy mage punk setting of Night's Edge, a setting developed by the hosts of the Dice Pool Podcast. If you wish to learn more about this setting, we recommend listening to episodes 6 and 7 of the Dice Pool Podcast, where we create and develop the world on the show. Now, you should be very familiar with our setting by now, but if this is your first episode, we'd suggest stopping here and going back to listening to this season from the beginning, since this is the final chapter of our heroic tale. Now, don't despair, this is not the end of our hero's journey, so stay tuned to social media for future episode announcements by searching at Dice Pool Podcast or visiting us on the web at thedicepoolpodcast.com. Now, in our previous episode, the heroes left the safety of Shade Moon, travelling aboard the Calamity to a mysterious monastery hidden deep in the mists of Night's Edge. Scouting the collapsed ruins, they are confronted with their worst fears, an Inquisitor and a horde of undead priests protecting the target of their mission, an ancient tome. Can our heroes survive to return the ancient tome the priests protect? Let's find out in the exciting conclusion of Night's Edge, Voyage of Calamity. Okay guys, so welcome back. Now this is our final episode of the series, so we shall dispense with the pleasantries this time and get straight back into the action from the last episode. Now, can I get a cool check from everyone as part of your initiative?
Does it have to be cool?
It is pretty cool. Yes, it does have to be cool.
Damn it! Why can't it be vigilant? Why would you?
Because all of us have not very good vigilance.
I have the best vigilant.
Well, that's a shame.
Cool.
All right, so Mike.
2 and 2.
2 and 2. Madeline.
One moment. 2 and 1.
2 and 1.
Oh, I've got a crap vigilance. Rolls 2 green and gets higher than like anyone else.
Yeah, but if it was vigilance, I probably could have had like
4 triumphs?
Yeah. You betcha.
Caitlin.
3 and 0.
Hey, that's pretty good. Mm-hmm. You're pow.
And Martin.
2 and 3.
All right, so now for the bad guys. So we've rolled a 1 and 4 with a triumph. We have 0 and 3, and we have 2 and 2. All right, so in order, that is going to be PC, 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 NPC, PC, and then 2 NPCs. So there are two groups of skeletal priests which are surrounding the book in the middle of the room, and they turn to confront you with their razor-sharp curved sickles, which they draw from their belts, and the sickles glisten in the torchlight that you're carrying. Their eye sockets billow this blackish purple smoke that evaporates soon after leaving their heads. As they move to attack the ominous figure behind them, who is standing on the dais, turns to watch how the party fares. He doesn't appear to be taking any aggressive action at this time. Perhaps only interested in seeing the results of the melee between the priests and the rest of the party. So, who would like to go first?
So, what we're looking at, we're a big group of skeletons.
There are two groups of skeletons of which are running towards you.
Skeletons and robes. And the third thing is the big thing at the back?
That is correct, yes.
Alright.
Which you don't know what that is.
What his intention, what its intention is, but the skeletons are being very aggressive because they're running at us with swords.
That is correct.
They got swords?
They don't have swords, they have sickles.
Okay. I'm like, Bonnie, you take the left, I'll take the right.
Sounds like a plan.
And
So you're dropping the coffin at this point.
I think so.
Okay, alrighty. So, first PC is going to be Artemis. So you drop the coffin and it clangs onto the ground. It echoes throughout this entire room. Mm-hmm. Right.
All right. So as Artemis runs at the skeletons, he lets out a howling roar, going into a frenzy.
Now they are medium range away, so you weren't carrying any weapons.
Quick draw.
So you've got quick draw. So you draw out your greatsword and you charge towards them.
Yep. Exactly what I do. All right. So 2 maneuvers to get to him. Mm-hmm. So I take two strain for that.
Yep.
And I will just hoe into the group. Boom.
Now, in case that any of you have weapons that are affecting Shadowkin, these creatures are defined as Shadowkin, cool. Just in case you do.
Now, any melee defense in these things?
They have a melee defense of 1.
1, okay, cool. I think that's all I need to worry about. So, yep. So Artemis jumps into the fray.
And don't forget the fact that you're still rattled by what happened earlier as well. So don't forget to set back.
And you'll get a boost as well from me.
I'll take that. 11 damage of pierce.
Ooh, okay.
And 2 crits.
Wow. Okay, so you're just going to use that to eliminate 2 of
Yep, just
2 of them?
gone home. Artemis is no finesse in this. He's just big cleaving swings of his greatsword, just cutting down the skeletons as many as he can at a time.
So you charge into this particular group and just swinging your sword from side to side.
Yep.
As they're coming towards you, you're just shattering them into a million pieces.
I can imagine it's a very anime-esque scene. Obviously, all these minions just pouring in over Artemis and then just them exploding back into the air and raining down into pieces of bone.
Exactly. Bone, which sort of kind of turns into this wispy sort of smoke as it dissipates onto the ground.
Love it.
I'm going to go next and go left as instructed by Artemis. And as he goes into his feral rage, I go into berserk mode and lightning randomly just comes and cracks and I start to go. My skin starts to turn purple in between where all the scars of, my fresh scars as well as my lightning scars, and my eyes turn purple as I start to run, and I bring out my dual wielding rapiers as I run towards the left side to attack.
2 purple dice.
Okay, because I'm a feral, because of my berserk, I get an automatic success and 2 advantages to my checks.
And you also don't forget the sackback die from their melee defense.
Okay.
You've got blast in there now, haven't you? Man, awesome.
So, I succeed with 2 successes and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 advantages.
Oh, wow.
My rapier has linked 1. So I do succeed, and my weapon does have Shockwave, which is a new talent in the Realms of Terranoth book, which actually gives my melee weapons the blast quality of 2 because I have 2 ranks in melee.
That's cool.
So my total damage is 6. I'm going to activate Linked with 2 of my advantages, which means I hit again for a 12 damage. I'm also going to activate the blast quality on my shock weapons with the other 2 advantages that I have, which will then... What does blast quality? An extra 4 damage on top of that. And then I have 1 advantage left over, which I'm going to pass down as a boost to the next player.
Cool.
So basically... you got one side where they're just being sliced and diced, and the other side where they're being shocked and thrown away, which is, motivating the other characters and the other players to fight as well. So that boost is going to go down the line.
Cool. All right. So 2 lots of 6 damage for a start. Okay. All right. So you destroy just with your strikes alone. Each one slashes into one of the skeletal priests, destroying them outright, turning them into the wispy smoke that you know so well. So 2 of them go down with each strike. Now, your blast does 4 damage, does it not? So you've seriously damaged one of them, though. Okay. So, who'd like to go next?
So there's still plenty of skeletons.
There are plenty of skeletons, yes.
All right. Well, do you want to go next?
Sure. I will. Anora will, because I assume that Jerrico is also going to go into the fight wherever it may be.
Well, I'm going to hang back and I'm going to guard the coffin.
That's what I was going to do.
We can both do it.
Okay.
What kind of weapons have you got? Have you got anything you could maybe just shoot in? I know we're engaged with it, but
I have a hand crossbow, but it's only short range.
Well, I mean, you can run ahead if you like.
So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to head into the middle as they've gone, Artemis and Bonnie have gone left and right. So I'll go into the middle.
Right.
Well, there's just so you know, there's only one person left unengaged. That's the big ominous figure who wants to test us. Just so you know.
So we should get rid of the skeletons first.
Yeah,
it's
you
the
can
test.
Yeah, you can dive into the skeletons.
We can dive into the big guy if you want to. No one's saying not to, but
I don't think
well, he's at the back.
he's at the very back.
So he's at the back, so don't...
Yeah,
so
true.
let's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably have to go onto the left side because I'm enough for 2 people on the right in terms of damage output.
And I'm going to need help with my rolls.
Okay, I'm going to assist Bonnie with her group
Right.
of skeletal priests.
Yep.
So I'm going to get out my wolf claws, and I'm going to charge forward and just attack.
Now your wolf claws, they're like big metal claws that spring out of your
Yeah.
hands, so like Wolverine.
Yeah, like Wolverine,
Yeah.
except I don't have them in my hands.
They're
They're
mounted to your
more
wrist.
of it's
Yeah.
more of sort of like a glove, and then they just spring out from
Like a
the
gauntlet
top.
type thing.
Yeah.
Bit of a Freddy Krueger sort of look going on there.
Maybe.
And you've had these since you were with your clan. So, I mean, obviously your clan had claws. So this is like handed down, I'm guessing, as well. Interesting. Okay, so you these draw these out. I'm guessing there's going to be some sort of quick draw involved with that.
Yeah.
And you run straight into the melee.
And I'll be engaged, won't I?
You will be.
Yep.
To get there, however, as well as attack, you're going to be taking 2 points of strain.
Okay. So I would like to. So I'm just going to do brawl, and I have a brawl of 3, but then.
The Van Blades have accurate, I believe. So you'll add a boost.
Gifts. Okay, and then I brawl.
And they have a melee defense, so you'll add 1 setback.
You also need difficulty in that.
Yep, which will be 2.
A minor detail.
We don't need that.
Checks are so easy about
And they
them.
do have a melee defense of 1.
Yeah, that's what this
You've
is.
got that?
Yep.
Awesome.
Okay.
And that's it.
Do it. Kill him.
Go for it.
Where's his triumphs? We need him now.
Yeah.
So I have 3 successes.
Wow.
So-
Okay. So what's the base damage for your particular weapon?
Which will be your brawn plus that.
4.
Yep. Plus your uncancelled successes.
Plus 3 successes?
Yep.
So I would have 7.
So you tell me, and so I do 7 points of damage.
So I do 7 points of damage.
Cool. Okay. So that's going to do after their soak gets taken into consideration.
Well, do your wolf claws have pierce?
No, they don't.
That's thunder.
That's my hand crossbow has pierce.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so 7 points of damage. One collapses onto the ground. However, there still remains several.
How many did I kill? Out of curiosity. I killed 2 for crit, and then I did
2. Well, you killed one outright. You killed that group outright.
Oh, it's gone.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no, you came in with that amount of damage and you just obliterated
Cool.
all of them.
I don't realise.
That's right, in that anime
Because
scene.
you also had triumphs in there as well, and all crits.
Just crits.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
So I'm critting these guys on 1 advantage.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
So I've gone into this group and I've slashed at them and completely just
Slice and diced.
Yep.
sliced and diced.
Nice. So there are 2 priests who remain. All right. Who's next?
NPC.
Okay. So there aren't too many of them. All right. So what happens is the creature at the end of the corridor. He sort of like raises his hands, and you notice that these hands they have gauntlets, but they are almost claw-like when he raises them. You can flip a story point there as you notice from either side come another group of these priests. They race up these sort of stairs, obviously alerted to your arrival, and they sort of form together and charge into the group. And that's basically their action. All right. So that's their turn. Who's next? NPC.
Jericho.
Is that's a new group of minions formed?
That is correct.
So would they have acted in the round yet?
That's their action.
Okay.
Do they get into engaged or just ran into the...
They get into engaged with you guys.
With who, me or them?
Actually, because they're in...
Because they've come in from antechambers or whatnot.
Exactly, yes. So they it takes them 2 maneuvers to get into them to yes. That's
okay. So they're engaged.
With me or Bonnie and Anora?
They're engaged with, let's say, you.
Okay, makes sense.
So they're at medium range from me, I believe. Is that right?
That is correct.
Well, maintaining one hand on the coffin, I quick draw my pistol. My favourite pistol, the one I've been using, the Lightning, because I have several others, but this one's invaluable. I will charge up for a lightning attack and fire away.
Cool.
Activating auto fire as I do so.
Nice.
So shooting at the mob at me?
Yes,
Okay.
so it'll have an upgrade
Yep.
because I'm shooting into melee, but
I like it.
I think I can handle it.
There's a cool talent which allows you to disengage from melee as an out-of-turn incidental.
Yeah.
That would
really?
be great. Just like you hit in this situation, Jericho would call the shot, and Artimis would spin out of the combat. Let him take the shot and spin back into the combat.
Yeah.
Holding in.
And I want Rain of Death as well, yeah.
That's cool.
Cinematically, that's so cool.
That's it. Okay, so because I also have Shadow Bane and these are shadow creatures, I will crit on a 1 with this check.
Good lord.
They don't have a ranged defense, do they?
They do have a range.
Oh, they do?
No, they don't. Yes, they do have a range
They have
defense.
ranged defense as well. Okay, so add that. I will aim twice to gain 2 advantages using my goggles, which I've adjusted
Cool.
to the
Now,
particular conditions.
Would you like to upgrade the check?
Save them for the
No.
big bad.
Yeah.
Right. What happens is you've sort of you've fired off this weapon, which I'll get you to roll. But while you're doing that, flip a story point. Does not affect your check. However, the vibration from your weapon does. do something.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's very good. So, the weapon fires. The lightning careens into the nearby skeleton-type priests.
So this is the new minion group, is it not?
That's right.
Okay.
All right. So after all of that, I have 3 successes and 5 advantages.
Right. Okay. Wow.
Did you have your goggles as well?
That was negated by 2. Yep. So what happens is the lightning strikes out, and it just courses through and the crackles against these bones, which start to snap and burn and smolder. I deal 10 damage to the first one. I'll hit a second time. Oh, well, actually, 10 damage to the first one, which I'll crit, killing one.
Right. Okay.
Then I'll hit a second time, which will deal another 10 damage and crit again.
Right.
And then I crit again.
Wow. Okay, so you don't need to crit the 2 other times. So you've just drawn this weapon and you've fired it basically across the room to these.
If I still had 2 more advantages, it's auto fire. So I will extend the lightning across to the remaining 2 on the other group.
Nice.
So
Okay.
I just spray the room with lightning and destroy all the remaining skeletons.
I imagine your first shot hits one, it arcs into one, whips around through the crew, through the skeleton mob, around Artemis, then it arcs across, and the beam leaps across into the other group, and does exactly the same thing, spirals through that crowd as well.
Yeah.
And so, this lightning basically arcs through each of the skeletons, each of the skeletal priests, completely obliterating them, arcing across to the next group, completely obliterating the remaining 2 as well.
Yep.
But it then, and this is where the flip of the story point comes in, it arcs back, and you sort of jump out of the way as it hits the coffin.
Oh, no.
Right. Who's next? The coffin lid, by the way, creaks open.
Oh, no.
You had one job.
Which he did do pretty well.
All right. Probably at this point you notice this inky black, it's almost like a liquid, but it's a gas of some sort. And it starts to seep out onto the ground and starts to sort of almost form.
No.
What are you doing? Who's next?
NPCs?
Well, that was one of the ones that's dead,
Yep, so we don't need to worry about that.
but we'll keep it there because you brought in the new group.
Yep, true.
Isn't the new group dead?
But all of the NPCs are dead, apart from the big bad and, well, now
Mystery.
the vampire. Yes.
So it's just 1 or 2 on there.
Yep.
2?
2.
2.
2. There should be 2. Okay, so who's next?
You're next.
I think it makes perfect logic sense that you should go next.
Okay, so...
He's like, it makes perfect sense, but I don't want it to do it.
Do I shoot it? It seemed to help
Just
it
put
before.
shut the lid. And sit on it.
Well, no, it's already leaked out.
It has already leaked out, yes.
So there's
it's
nothing...
oozing out onto the ground. There's
So-
really...
Closing the lid wouldn't really do anything at this point. It's already escaped.
That is correct.
Pandora's box is open. So, but the lightning didn't seem to hurt it. It just...
Well, it hit the outside of the metal coffin, which seemed to have some sort of effect which cracked the seal. As it begins to shape and form into some sort of solid shape, you notice that it looks very, very similar to a certain dandy that you collected from Shade Moon.
Shade Moon, yeah.
What does our friend in the armor seem to react to this?
He does not appear to be moving and doesn't sort of, as you turn to look at him, he sort of has his hands sort of clasped in front of him
So he doesn't disturb.
He doesn't appear to be reacting to this at all.
And this thing looks hostile.
It certainly does look hostile, especially considering once it sort of solidifies its form, you can see that it's, imagine his mouth, which has been dragged open and back into his towards his ears. He has jagged teeth all through this open maw, several rows of these sharpened teeth, and this sort of grotesque blackness within.
So with a shout, I didn't say you could get out of your box. I'll shoot him with some more lightning.
Excellent. So, he is an adversary 2.
Has he acted in the round?
He has not.
So I have quick strike, so I get a boost.
Come on, man. I want to see 4 triumphs.
Adversary 2.
Adversary 2.
I would like to upgrade.
I thought you might.
That's fair.
So you flip a story point.
I do.
Yes, and you know what? I think it's probably dramatically appropriate since, it was a person who you tried to defend.
Yes.
You can flip a story point back to upgrade to give you a purple dice.
Yeah, so I'm hesitant with this, and because... But yes, I've caught him completely, he's
Off
not
guard.
expecting...
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so that's my roll. Let's see what happens here.
Now, he does also have a melee defense of 1.
Well, it's not melee.
Oh, sorry.
Because
it's range. It's range defense.
Because I'll make sure I step back to be at range,
Yep. So he also... Sorry, my apologies. He also has a range defense of 1 as well.
Okay, so... So do I have to step back to be at range from him? Because he's not engaged with me, is he?
No, not at this point, because you sort of stepped kind of forward, I would imagine, at this point. Yeah,
well,
and he's formed away from you, yes.
Yeah, and I do aim twice using my goggles, adjusting them to his particular magical resonance.
Yep, perfect.
That is an amazing roll.
Okay.
And that's one of the roles that this game is all about, Martin.
Does he count as a shadow?
He does count as a shadow.
Yes. He literally was shadow 2 seconds ago.
Okay. So, I have hit.
Ooh.
The lightning streaks out and caresses him violently.
I know this is the podcast, but that visual was amazing.
Try to do a violent caress.
I've got 2 successes, a triumph, and a despair.
Right.
So
Interesting.
So that'll be 9 damage coming from the lightning. I did already upgrade, so I can't boost that any higher. And I've got... I do also have an advantage up my sleeve from my goggles. So I will crit with that. And I'll crit again using the Triumph.
Right.
I think that's probably the best use for it at this point. And we'll deal with the despair.
We'll deal with the despair in a moment, definitely.
So 7 damage, but that does do damage to him, so
Yes,
that I can in fact crit.
Sure.
Excellent. Now let's see what the crit does.
100, 100, 100.
Well, that is 105.
Wow. 105.
Because my crit is at plus 50.
All right. So what happens is when this lightning caresses it violently, that you successfully manage to maim your target. So one of its limbs is permanently damaged.
Head.
So,
I was just no, people are going to make fun of me because I said head, and head's not a limb.
So you completely blast its arm straight off. And sort of as it removes itself from the creature's body and it lands onto the ground, it just dissipates as soon as it crashes.
Like steam.
Because of that, it's screaming out in pain. Being the fact that it's maimed, it cannot take any actions anymore until the end of the encounter, if it survives that long. And it also gains a setback die if it needs to do something using that particular limb. So as it's sort of been hit by this lightning, which, unfortunately for it, it only takes 2 wounds, but that's 2 wounds enough. And so, it's sort of screeching out in pain at this particular point in time.
I'll also scream out, Captain, I'm going to need your assistance.
Right, who's next?
Despair?
Yes.
Sorry,
Good.
what despair?
Betrayal.
Mine's like
I'm happy for you to hold on to that for later if you like.
it's magic. It's the first spell we've done doing magic, so it's going to be something pretty
This
good.
is true.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so for the despair. So this lightning, as it's arced across, you were touching the coffin, were you not? The metal coffin. Okay. So as this lightning is arced across to him, it's hit the coffin. It's then gone through you because, well, you're meaty, fleshy, full of water, and it's conducted through you to Earth itself. So you're going to take the base damage for the weapon, totally soakable, but you're going to take that through you.
Yep.
And you're also going to take a critical hit as well. All right. So, what was the pierce or the viciousness that you had before?
It's vicious 3, but I activated the crit twice on that creature. So if it's similar to that, it'd be plus 50.
Wow. Okay. So plus 50 to this roll.
Because I also have lethal blows.
All right. So it's not too bad. It's only a 68. So in this case, a 68 is scattered senses, which kind of makes sense. So you remove all boost die from skill checks until the critical injury is healed. So you can't use boost die effectively.
An aggressive caress does scatter your senses.
So you are screaming in pain at this point, and it is a 2 purple die critical.
So Artemis, he's obviously dealt with his skeleton priests, and then all of a sudden, all of his hackles, they were raised before, but now they just got to a new level, and he senses, or he smells something that's in his bloodline, that's in his kin, they haven't smelt for generations, and he immediately knows what it is, and he spins about with his new crackling, much improved sword, which he had enhanced via the back of Shadeport, and it's now glowing with that purplish hue of the lightning that's out in the clouds. And he glares at this vampire just in time to see Jerrico blast its arm off and turn it into like a oily mist. Then watches Jerrico gets blown back essentially as the lightning arcs through the coffin. And for how Artemis just lunges at this vampire, he just closes the medium-range gap in one bound and just brings his great sword down into this thing's head as hard as he can go.
Perfect.
Take 2 strength.
If you kill it with the sword, though, it will reform later.
Yeah, that's an I'll just punch it later on. I'm not going, he's dead.
Well, we're supposed to deliver it, so it's probably a good thing if we don't kill it.
All right. So,
In terms of getting paid, it's a good thing. In terms of what's good for the universe.
So we
Adversary
delivered
2,
it
you
to the
said?
coordinator.
Adversary 2?
Adversary 2.
Okay.
With a setback die for its melee defense.
Now, because I have a bloodline hatred for this thing, I'm going to flip a story point and upgrade this check. 'Cause I think it's quite suitable that a werewolf fighting a vampire.
Yep.
Swing away. Interesting. That's a fail.
What?
No? Yes, it is.
Wow, that is a lot of failure.
But
You go down to just to hit it, but instead you actually go to where the arm is currently missing.
I just want to roll something that's not advantages. That'd be fantastic.
you did get something else there.
Hey, at least you've rolled a triumph this season.
And right now,
Hey.
Alright, so mating will make success, so this goes to that. So ultimately, despite Artemis's best efforts,
Right.
he brings his sword down. But imagine the vampire, he's seen it coming in, just phased to the left a little tiny bit,
Right.
and the sword smacked into the stonework of the building, and the attacks missed completely. However, I have scored 3 advantages and a triumph. So,
What does that look like?
even though the sword's missed, with my triumph, my other claw, his left hand, springs up and grabs this vampire by the jaw and just grips onto it so it can't work its mouth and bite anyone, because Artemis, being a werewolf, knows all too well what this thing's capable of and locks it into place, hopefully long enough for someone to activate. And with my to attack it, hoping with the 3 advantages. Who's going next? You're going next?
I was thinking of it. I'm still in berserk mode, but at the end of the counter, that's gone. That's all.
It would be perfect for Bonnie.
I'll spin it around. 3 advantage. I'll spin around the vampire in my hand and stand it so its back is towards Bonnie, so Bonnie can charge into its spine.
Nice.
Done.
Nice.
Giving her an upgrade to a check with 3 advantages.
I'd go with that, definitely.
All right.
Well, with a triumph and 3 advantage. Yeah.
Yeah. So narrative, all that's played out.
Yeah.
I knew that attack would miss. 100% knew it.
But then you're going to give it to me with my rolls. All right, so Bonnie sees this and knows straight away what she needs to do, and just starts charging, and she's still in berserk mode. And so every little one of her little shadow steps as it's going has got cracks of lightning through it, and she's all lightninged out as well, ready to charge. Let's see if she actually does anything though. And 2 purple. Adversary 2.
That's it. And 1, yep, that's it for melee defense. Excellent.
Do it.
Do it.
Would you like to upgrade the check?
Or save it for Lucky Strike.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. I'm going to save it for Lucky Strike.
Okay.
Because I do have these. I have a success and 2 advantage waiting for me.
Cool.
Hit though.
As GM Caitlin's working her dice out, I just realised something. I had 2 extra advantages up my sleeve because of my frenzy, which I'll give to GM Caitlin.
That's a good idea.
So have
Another
a
boost.
boost dice.
Can I have another boost die? I have accuracy 1.
Oh,
Yes.
Accurate.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. So, my dice pool is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 successes.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 advantages.
Good lord.
And a sneaky despair. It's just,
sneaky.
it is very sneaky, which I know. Okay. So what I am going to do, I'm going to use 2 to do a crit. So 2 of my 2 advantages to do a crit. I'm going to use 2 advantages as well to do linked. And I'm going to use...
You can crit again.
Or I use my shockwave.
It won't do any damage to him, to be honest.
It won't? Okay.
Because it's a blast and there's no one around.
Oh,
So
fair
it
enough then.
won't hit him.
And plus the damage is so minimal, I doubt it'll pierce his soak.
Fair enough.
But because you've hit twice, you can crit on each hit.
So I'll crit on
which
each
is 2
hit.
D100 rolls.
Hey, it is.
So I will do that. So I'm going to use the other 2 advantages that I have, which I'm pretty sure from my count is the last 2 advantages to basically hit twice and crit twice.
Perfect.
Okay. Right. So damage.
So 10.
Oh! Lucky strike!
Things are afoot.
I can finally do something. And I just had to wait until the last part of this whole series. I'm going to flip a story point and do Lucky Strike, which is going to add 4 damage
To the first hit.
To the first hit.
Wow. Okay. So that's going to be 14 points of damage. Is that right?
anyone who does math, yes.
Yes.
So that's
Which is
14.
obviously me. I do that well.
Okay, so 14 points of damage to the first hit. Okay. All right. And your second hit was how much damage?
It'd be just 4 less than that.
4
So
less
10.
than that. So, okay.
So both do damage. Yep.
This is a podcast.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I understand, it's math.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to work out, because I am doing this off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So I think I had, okay, so you did
14 and 10.
14 and 10, so it'll be 10 that I'm trying to work out. Okay, cool. All right, so you bring in your 2 weapons. You collide with the first one.
Do you have 2 of them?
Is that what you... Would you
Yeah, I've got 2 weapons.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Okay.
Why don't you activate the second weapon as well?
Because I got linked.
Yeah, you didn't. So you can, because you've got 2 weapons, you could also have done 2-weapon fighting and added an additional difficulty to potentially hit with the second weapon as well.
No, I didn't do that.
Oh.
No, but that's fine.
Let's just say I have one. It's narratively, so it's...
Well, you've hit with the one.
Okay.
Yeah, I did not do my character sheet like that.
So
I was
you-
just doing defeating.
All right, so you've hit with the one weapon, and you've done an excruciatingly large amount of damage to it. You've then gone in for the second attack, and it just howls in pain as you have removed it from this part of the universe. All right, so the despair. So what happens is that you've obviously had to use a bit of force to go through the hide of this particular creature. And Artemis, you've had to sort of like force your body as well.
Pushing the vampire forwards into the rapier.
And unfortunately, with the rapier, it's gone a little bit too far, and it's actually pierced into you, causing you to get a critical as well. Did you have any, was it vicious or anything like that at all? The rapier? Okay.
Sorry, that was a no.
That's enough. Right, so that's a 24. So that's going to be off balance. That's really boring. All right, that basically, yeah, it's sort of like forced you to go back against the wall as this thing sort of collapses and dissipates into the ground before you. So it is a setback die to your next skill check.
Okay. So I'm still holding on to this thing then?
No, it is gone. While you've you've lost your grip of it as it dissipates, but it turns into this sort of gaseous form and goes back inside the coffin, which is lying now on the ground. And as it as the last of the gas dissipates and goes into the coffin lid shuts and seals. From the dais at the top, all that you see is the shadowy form. It doesn't take any steps, it just floats down. It seems to be taking something out of its pocket. And it's a pouch of some sort. It moves forward towards you. You get a sense of dread, but it knows that it doesn't want you too affected and to run away. So it holds back its ability to be fearful. But it is grotesque when you come face to face with it. After all, it is an Inquisitor, the most feared of all creatures, which from time to time appear to menace the Shadow Realm. It looks over to Bonnie and hands Bonnie this pouch, which when it sort of hits your hand, that it tinkles as though then perhaps it's coins or something, but it seems lighter than that to the touch. It turns to you all and says,
Your job here is done. Leave.
Bye.
Adios, bichachos.
and so
Yeah.
I just turn to the captain and hand him the pouch.
I I turn to you and hand you your sword.
Okay, I forgot about that.
I tear it out of my stomach and here you go.
Trade.
I won't look in the bag yet because the thing's told us to go.
Yep.
And I think it means business.
We're ready to.
Yeah, we want to go. We're done with this. And Artemis like rubbing the wound in his chest or his stomach, looks to his crewmates and says, "Well, I don't know about you, but I'm going back to the ship."
Oh, I'm leaving.
Right behind you.
You do notice, because you're nearby, that the book has been left there.
Oh, I'll grab that. Oh, yeah, I grabbed that.
At which point that the Inquisitor says to you,
Octavius will want that.
Fine.
There'll be enough time to copy it.
I know, yes.
and so I'm guessing that you all leave.
As we're walking out, I just look at the coffin and look back up at the Inquisitor. Like, are we supposed, like, do we take this?
You will leave it.
With my eyes. But
Maybe he senses that.
yeah, he just sees my, like, hesitant, like, staring at it while I'm looking up at him, and it's like, leave it. And I just keep walking, following the captain.
I limp out of here.
As you walk out, you notice the Inquisitor lean down and touch the coffin with its hand.
Is it a aggressive caress?
No, it is not. It is not an aggressive caress. No. It's hard to tell, obviously, what it's doing or saying, but it is. You sort of turn and then turn back, and it's gone. You return back to your ship with the pouch full of coins or whatever else that it is.
Go to the. I think we should go to the captain's cabin
Yeah.
and have some privacy and see what's in the bag in case something nasty.
Yeah.
So you open the bag, and it is an unusual thing. It looks as though it's a cluster of teeth, but they are fine, sharp, pointed teeth.
Right.
You have never seen them in the flesh, but you have heard of them. They are vampire teeth, a rare commodity.
A currency amongst certain werewolves, yes?
It's a currency amongst anyone, I'd imagine. Rare as vampires' teeth these are.
As the saying goes.
So you leave the monastery and sail the Calamity back to Shade Moon. The journey is pretty much uneventful, as though the creatures and shadows that inhabit the Night's Edge somehow avoid you, or they don't go anywhere near you, as though they've been perhaps instructed to allow you safe travel through their realm.
And on the trip, I transcribed the book, yes?
Hold up. Wasn't Octavius... Did he say that we could keep whatever the Inquisitor gave us?
Oh, yes, he said to
He did.
pay. I still transcribe it.
Keep the book.
I make a copy, okay?
So you
just in
make a
case.
copy of the book.
Yeah.
Cool. Eventually you arrive at Shade Moon, although this time you dock the Calamity in one of the many harbours that inhabit the cracks and crevices that dot the exterior of this gigantic floating ball of rock. You are then escorted by one of Octavius's lieutenants, who meets you at the dock, and his retinue of guards, and you're taken through the maze of caverns and corridors that make up Shade Moon. Sometime later, you arrive at Shade Moon's palace, buried deep beneath the surface, where you are brought into the main throne room where you've been before, where Octavius Magnuson, leader of Shade Moon, holds court. And Octavius says to you as you stand before him, "So, have you collected something for me?"
I found a book.
Ah. So, Lady Vesh, she'll be wanting that.
fine. We'll carry that on to her.
Please send her my regards.
That'll cost you extra.
Please, take these individuals away from me. I don't need to be seeing them anymore. But we will see each other again, no doubt, at some point in the future. Perhaps.
And a good day to you as well.
I give him the Shade Touch salute as I leave.
He looks at you sort of curiously. And you leave. And you return back to Lakesport. No doubt, returning the book as instructed.
Yes. And my copy safely tucked in my room.
And what is a meeting of Lady Vesh? Do we meet of her or her envoy?
You do not. You just meet with Barnaby. And he thanks you for your assistance, and he says that he hopes that his employer can use your services again.
Before he takes the book away, Artemis will plonk down a big paw on the book and say, "We all hope that Lady Vesh isn't up to anything nefarious with this book now." I'll say that in a very intimidating sort of way.
Sure.
As I glare down at him.
He looks at you and looks at the book and says, "I assure you, she means no ill intent."
Oh, I'm sold. Here you go. The book, mate.
So he gives you the gold which is owed, and bids you farewell. And that is where we end this part of the story. Well, there you have it. That was the conclusion to the second season of the Dice Pill Podcast live play series. We all here at the podcast hope that you've enjoyed listening to it as much as we had creating it. My thanks go to my players Caitlin, Martin, Michael and Madeline. It literally was not possible without them. We hope that you've enjoyed listening to the Night's Edge setting, going from an idea between friends through to a fully immersive campaign. Additionally, we hope this encourages you to create your own settings using the GeneSys Role Playing Game. Now don't forget, if you have any feedback on our setting or feedback on this episode, you can send us a review via iTunes, on Facebook, or send us an email to info@thedicepillpodcast.com. Now, just a note on iTunes reviews. These are very important to us as it helps people find us when searching for new podcasts to entertain their sound eyes, plus it encourages people to give us a listen. So if you are listening and you haven't done so already, post up a review and tell other potential listeners what you think of the show. If you have done so already though, thank you. We really do appreciate it. Now, what is next for the Dice Ball Podcast live play series? Well, as we leave the fantasy mage punk setting of Night's Edge, we move across to a different kind of punk of the cyberpunk variety in the form of Fantasy Flight Games' upcoming setting of Android. So hopefully you can join us for another exciting adventure soon. I'm GM Hurley, thanks for listening, and remember, the Dice Pool Podcast, where adventure is just a roll away. The Dice Pool Podcast is a proud member of the D20 Radio Network. For more information about the network, visit d20radio.com. This podcast is a fan-generated venture and is not affiliated with Fantasy Flight Games. Content of this podcast remains the property of the Dice Pool Podcast and is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. The GeneSys Role Playing Game, logo and rules content remain the property of Fantasy Flight Games. Music supplied by Brandon Fichter and Toby Wheatley.